Magandang araw mga ka-psych, and welcome to our review for psychologists and psychometricians board exam. We are now on our fifth part of Theories of Personality, and we will have 20 questions for this session. Ready ka na ba? Let's start! Theories of Personality review questions. Number 1. Kelly stated that people belong to the same cultural group because they A. Behave in a similar manner, B. Chooses to do so, C. Construe their experience in the same way, or D. Bound by time and geography. Number 2. The awareness of an immediate and basic change to our core structure is Kelly's definition of: is it A. Anxiety, B. Threat, C. Fear, or D. Guilt? Number 3. Rogers labeled all those aspects of one's being and one's experience that are perceived in awareness by individual as A. Self-concept, B. Ideal self, C. Real self, or D. Imaginary self. Number 4. Incongruence for Rogers can be seen in terms of A. A lack of empathy, B. A discrepancy between self-concept and ideal self, C. An inability to actualize the formative tendency, or D. A minimal level of external evaluation and reinforcement. Number 5. Rogers believed that positive self-regard is A. Can exist independently of other people's attitude towards you, B. Depends on people's continued positive attitude, C. Depends on others' continued negative attitude, or D. Is pathological. Number 6. When a person perceives evaluation from another person, Rogers believed that he or she will A. Deny the evaluation, B. Experience conditions of worth, C. Learn something of value from the experience, or D. Develop unconditional positive regard for that person. Number 7. If Maslow is the father of third force in psychology, then the first two forces would be A. Jung and Freud, B. Freud and Adler, C. Behaviorism and psychoanalysis, or D. Psychoanalysis and existentialism. Number 8. Maslow criticized the first two forces in psychology for their A. Overemphasis on unconscious motivation, B. Inability to successfully treat neurosis, C. Unscientific viewpoints on personality, or D. Limited view of humanity. Number 9. Maslow's feelings toward his mother were characterized by A. Hatred and animosity, B. Affection and respect, C. A clinging dependency, or D. Indifference. Number 9. Maslow adopted this approach to motivation: A. Dualistic, B. Homeostatic, C. Deterministic, or D. Holistic. Number 11. Which of these is not an assumption underlying Maslow's theory of motivation? Is it A. People are continually motivated by one or another, B. Unconscious forces lie behind much surface motivation, C. People in different cultures have different basic needs, or D. Human needs can be arranged on a hierarchy? Number 12. A woman whose physiological needs are inadequately satisfied will be motivated to A. Satisfy physiological needs, B. Satisfy safety needs, C. Satisfy esteem needs, or D. Become self-actualizing. Number 13. Safety needs are most likely to be strong motivators for A. hungry people, b. Children, c. Those having problems making friends, or d. Self-actualizing people. Number 14. Safety needs differ from physiological needs in that they, A, are the most prepotent set of needs. B, represents B, values. C, cannot be overly satiated. Or D, are meta-motivated. Number 15. May was influenced by Soren Kierkegaard's view of anxiety as struggle against A. Non-being, b. Destiny, c. Fate, or d. Intentionality. Number 16. Most existentialists believe all of the following except: is it A. Existence takes precedence over essence, b. Non-being takes precedence over being, c. Subject and object are one unit and must not split, or d. People search for some meaning to their lives. Number 17. The essential unity of the person and environment is expressed in German word A. Design, b. Umwelt, c. Mitwelt, or d. Eigenwelt. Number 18. Drug addiction, alcohol abuse, promiscuous sexual behavior, and other compulsive behaviors can be manifestations of: is it A. Non-being, b. Destiny, c. Fate, or d. Intentionality. Number 19. A delight in the presence of other person and an affirmation of his value and development as much as one's own is May's definition of: is it A. Love, b. Care, c. Empathy, or d. Intentionality. Number 20. May believes our ultimate destiny is A. Love, b. Will, c. Death, or d. Despair. And now, let's go to answers and explanation. Number 1. Kelly stated that people belong to the same cultural group because they, the answer is letter C. They construe their experience in the same way. Social processes, in social processes, people belong to the same cultural group not merely because they behave alike, nor because they expect the same things of others, but especially because they construe their experience in the same way. Number 2, the awareness of an immediate and basic change to our core structure is Kelly's definition of. The answer is letter B, threat. People experience threat when they perceive that the stability of their basic construct is likely to be shaken. Kelly in 1955 defined threat as the awareness of imminent comprehensive change in one's core structure. One can be threatened by either people or events, and something the two cannot be separated. Number 3. Rogers labeled all those aspects of one's being and one's experience that are perceived in awareness by the individual as. The answer is letter A, self-concept. The self-concept includes all of those aspects of one's being and one's experience that are perceived in awareness, though not always accurately, by the individual. The self-concept is not identical with the organismic self. Portions of the organismic self may be beyond person's awareness or simply not owned by the person. Number 4, incongruence for Rogers can be seen in terms of. The answer is letter B, a discrepancy between self-concept and ideal self. The ideal self contains all those attributes, usually positive, that people aspire to possess. A wide gap between the ideal self and the self-concept indicates incongruence and unhealthy personality. Psychologically healthy individuals perceive little discrepancy between their self-concept and what they ideally would like to be. Number 5. Rogers believed that positive self-regard, the answer is letter A, can exist independently of other people's attitude towards you. As children or adults become aware of that other person has some measure of regard for them, they begin to value positive regard and devalue negative regard. That is, the person develops a need to be loved, liked, or accepted by another person, a need that Rogers referred to as positive regard. Number 6. When a person perceives evaluation from another person, Rogers believed that he or she will. The answer is letter B, experience conditions of worth. Instead of receiving unconditional positive regard, most people receive conditions of worth. That is, they perceive that their parents, peers, or partners love and accept them only if they meet these people's expectations and approval. A condition of worth arises when the positive regard of significant other is conditional, when the individual feels that in some respect he or she is prized and in others not. Number 7. If Maslow is the father of the third force in psychology, then the first two forces would be, the answer is letter C, behaviorism and psychoanalysis. The theories of Maslow, Allport, Rogers, and May, and others are sometimes thought of as the third force in psychology. The first force is psychoanalysis, and the second force is the behaviorism. Number 8. Maslow criticized the first two forces in psychology for their letter D, limited view of humanity. In his mature theory, however, Maslow criticized both psychoanalysis and behaviorism for their limited view of humanity and their inadequate understanding of the psychological healthy individual. Number 9. Maslow's feelings towards his mother were characterized by, the answer is letter A, hatred and animosity. Maslow, perhaps the most lonely and miserable childhood of any person discussed in the theories of personality, spent his unhappy childhood in Brooklyn. Maslow was the oldest of 7 born to Samuel Maslow and Rose Maslow. As a child, his life was filled with intense feelings of shyness, inferiority, and depression. Maslow was not specially close to either parent, but he tolerated his often absent father, a Russian Jewish immigrant who made a living preparing barrels. Towards his mother, however, Maslow felt hatred and deep-seated animosity, not only during his childhood but until the day she died, just a couple of years before Maslow's own death. Number 10. Maslow adopted his approach to motivation. The answer is letter D, holistic. Maslow's theory of personality rests on several basic assumptions regarding motivation. First, Maslow in 1970 adopted a holistic approach to motivation. That is, the whole person and not any single part or function is motivated. Number 11. Which of these is not an assumption underlying Maslow's theory of motivation? The answer is letter C. People in different cultures have different basic needs. All people everywhere are motivated by the same basic needs. The manner in which people in different cultures obtain food, build shelters, express friendship, and so forth may vary wildly. But the fundamental needs for food, safety, and friendship are common to the entire species. Number 12. A woman whose physiological needs are inadequately satisfied will be motivated to. The answer is letter A, satisfy physiological needs. Number 13. Safety needs are most likely to be strong motivators for. The answer is letter B, children. In societies not at war, most healthy adults satisfy their safety needs most of the time, thus making this need relatively unimportant. Children, however, are more often motivated by safety needs because they live with such threats such as darkness, animals, strangers, and punishment from parents. Number 14. Safety needs differ from physiological needs in that the answer, it's letter C. They cannot be overly satiated. Safety needs differ from physiological needs in that they cannot be overly satiated. People can never be completely protected from meteorites, fires, floods, or dangerous acts of others. Number 15. May was influenced by Soren Kierkegaard's view of anxiety as a struggle against. The answer, non-being. Being in the world necessitates an awareness of self as a living, emerging being. This awareness in turn leads to the dread of not being, that is, non-being or nothingness. Number 16. Most existentialists believe all of the following except letter B. Non-being takes precedence over being. First, existence takes precedence over essence. Existence means to emerge or to become. Essence implies a static, immutable substance. Existence suggests process. Essence refers to a product. Existence is associated with growth and change. Essence signifies stagnation and finality. Second, existentialism opposes the split between subject and object. Third, people search for some meaning to their lives. Fourth, existentialists hold that ultimately each of us is responsible for who we are and what we become. And fifth, existentialists are basically anti-theoretical. Number 17. The essential unity of person and environment is expressed in the German word. The answer is letter A, design. The basic unit of person and environment is expressed in the German word design, meaning to exist there. Hence, design literally means to exist in the world and is generally written as being in the world. The hyphen is the term imply a oneness of subject and object of person and world. 18. Drug addiction, alcohol abuse, promiscuous sexual behavior, and other compulsive behaviors can be manifestations of. The answer is letter A, non-being. Death is not only avenue for non-being but is the most obvious one. Life becomes more vital, more meaningful when we confront the possibility of our death. Number 19. A delight in the presence of other person and an affirmation of his value and development as much as one's own is May's definition of. The answer? Letter A, love. Care is not the same as love, but it is the source of love. To love means to care, to recognize the essential humanity of other person, to have an active regard for that person's development. Number 20. May believes our ultimate destiny is. The answer is letter C, death. May defined destiny as the design of the universe speaking through the design of each one of us. Our ultimate destiny is death. But on a lesser scale, our destiny includes other biological properties such as intelligence, gender, size and strength, and genetic predisposition towards certain illnesses. In addition, psychological and cultural factors contribute to our destiny. And that's the end of our drill for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe by clicking the subscribe button and hit the notification bell for updates on our drills. Keep safe and have a nice day.